Yeah, Divya, you can ask me a question. Divya, you there?
Yeah, Sneha, 1 minute.
Yeah. Okay.
ಇಲ್ಲ 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 ಸ್ನೇಹ ಸಾರಿ
Yeah.
forgot the question. Wait.
Okay.
This in real time we will use to give some message to the customer, right, Sneha?
Yeah, there are
Exception.
multiple ways you can create your custom exceptions, which we didn't commit. But these are all your runtime exceptions, right? These are not your custom business exceptions. Like you're not going to give some message to your customer because of some technical issue which you're handling it here, right? So these are something you need to handle it. On top of that, if for example, let's say a user is trying to log into your application and he's not giving his password, the password string is empty, and on which data you'll actually evaluate whether the password is right or wrong. In that case, you can give like your password is empty and please provide a valid password. In that case, I can give a valid exception to customer. But in this case, this is something happening in my own code logic, which nowhere will help a customer to understand these exceptions. So there are multiple kinds of exceptions. So whatever you're seeing right now are all are technical exceptions. So basically, whatever code you have written, for that you're getting some exception. And to
Yeah, I
avoid
can.
that,
Yeah, I
and
can
we can
understand.
provide a business exception.
Okay, I can
We'll
understand that,
see.
but I wanted to know whether where we will use it. If, as you said, when the customer enters a password, uh, there we will accept some special characters or something. There, for this, for that case, we are using this try and catch exception, or
Yeah, for that, for those kind of exceptions also, we are dependent on the try and catch it block. Only thing is what we do is, instead of handling it here, let's say here, I'm just giving you an example. If my login password, let's have a string login password. Now, if my login password are not equal to, and I have some string, say this. I'm just not going much deeper way. I'm just giving you some random input. Now, if this is not equal to, I need to throw an exception to customer. So here the keyword comes, throw new exception. Right now, I don't have any custom exception created, so I'm just going with the same exception class. And they say, right, please enter valid password. So in this way, I can actually throw a new exception. Okay, right now this is an exception, right? So whoever is handling it have to have that. So now what happened? Whoever is coming into and is giving some password, if that is not matching to the existing one, I'll say please enter a valid password, which is right now I'm creating using an exception class. We'll see how to create custom exceptions in some time. And then you'll be throwing the relevant exception, so that in the front end, in the website, you will be having this error message popped in. So they will not have these kind of stack trace and everything, because you're giving a valid error message here itself. So these are your business exceptions, which will be customized as per your use cases, and which will be thrown here, so that what happens, you're not further progressing on your flow. Whatever you have written here, that will not be progressed. You're abruptly cutting your code flow and you're throwing an exception there itself. But for this particular arithmetic exception is something which is happening on your runtime, where if you're not validating it properly, your null checks, or if you're not validating your inputs, right? In that case, you're getting it technically from your Java system, which can be addressed or which can be suppressed. So these are two ways for us to have a happy flow for the end users. So these are technical exceptions, and the above one are called as business exceptions. Okay. For technical exceptions, we try to always suppress them. Yeah, someone was asking question.
Yes, Snehal, like we use throw means like abruptly that line will be stopped after that, right? So
Yeah,
still
you're not going to
we
continue the
need to
flow.
code
You're
that.
actually stopping the flow.
Still we need to give the catch in that case actually for that business scenario actually.
Yes, you have to. See,
Okay.
if you are not handling this in a proper way, then it will ask us to give us throw. So I meant to cover with the keyword throw and throws, right? So I didn't come to that picture. But right now, if you want to go with the business exceptions, right now I'm using only the parent class, which is available from JVM. There is a way to create your custom exceptions. How can we do that? Let's experiment that now. So all your exceptions have top class of which one? Throwable or what say exception or error? Which is your topmost class?
Throwable.
Throwable is topmost class. For all your runtime exceptions, which is your topmost class?
Exception, right?
Exception. Okay. For runtime exception, you have an exception already created, right? Which is runtime exception. So there are two ways for you to create your custom exceptions. If you are pretty sure it is going to be a runtime exception, you can actually extend it from runtime. Okay. You can actually extend it from runtime exception, or you can also have your parent class exception also. So now in this, what we're going to do is we're going to create one constructor, which is going to accept a message, error message. And I'm just creating a normal default constructor with one argument, which is going to return me some message. And your exception is your parent class. And in your parent class, you already have a constructor with exception accepting a message. So in that case, I can just use this super of message. And I'm going to pass my error message here. Okay. Now let's go here. And here, instead of exception, I'm going to say custom exception. And I'm going to pass this. So in this way, you can create your own business exception. So right now, whatever exception I created is password, right? So I can just refactor this one and have like login validation exception. And here, what happens every time whoever is logging and is not having a proper credentials, and I'll throw a login validation exception. So in front end, like in your HTML or in your JavaScript, right? What we do is, if that is a kind of exception with a proper error message, they just show it in your screen and they stop your program unless user performs your next activity. So these are your business exceptions which can be handled, and you can't continue further, right, without having a proper input in your flow when you're retrieving it from a user. In that case, we'll stop the execution. But in this case, you can't stop it because the user has already given you some input. And based on that input, you're validating it and providing the further result set. So which can be suppressed, or if you're pretty sure your string should be some value, like if you say the password should be greater than 5 and not less than, then if you're having some condition checks here, and if that particular string is not satisfying, then you can actually throw again an error saying like your string has to have, your password should be minimum 5 characters, but you have less than that, please provide a strong password. So we can still give a exception to the user so that they can re-input your data, and we can further go with the happy flow path. If not, we'll be cutting them unless they give us the right input. Okay. So any questions here?
Can we run this, Neha?
And right now I don't have anything, so let's done. Whatever I'm doing right now is not relevant to any of the input which is being passed here. So you can't evaluate it. Let's create the custom exception in a better approach. Where is that? Yeah. Let's say in this scenario, now let's evaluate if let's get the input string password. If my password dot length is less than 8, new login validation exception, please enter password with 10 or more characters. And whenever you're throwing this, you need to have that throws in your. And now let's do this. Else, I'll just have a sysout. Welcome to home screen. Since we don't have any UI, I'm just giving a home screen message and I'm closing it. Now let's let me give some data. And let me run now. So since my character is greater than 8, we'll go into the home screen. What if I give a less than that? It gave me an exception with please enter password with 10 or more characters. So whenever you're throwing this, whoever is consuming it on the other end, whoever is consuming this data will see this message and print it in your front end screen. So this is the way you can handle your data. In a single method, you can have multiple customized exceptions can be thrown based on your logic part.
Neha, can you show the login validation exception program?
Okay.
Super of error message. Where does it go, Neha? Super of error message.
So you're extending which class? Your parent class exception, right? So this exception, right now you're using a parameterized constructor. So in your exception, you already have a parameterized constructor, which is already having the logic of super of message. So if you go again, this super of message, which is coming from your parent class throwable, where you're assigning this message to my detailed message. So basically all your assignment is happening in your throwable class. What you're doing here, you're just giving the error message and you're using super keyword. That's it. So you don't need to explicitly say like private string message. And here instead of this dot message equal to error message. I'm not assigning any data here. Instead, I'm using directly the super message, right? Which is a parent class logic. I'm not giving any logic here. So in that case, if you want to use your parent logic, we'll go with the super keyword. You will still get the same thing. But the thing is, your message was not printed here because my validation is not proper here.
Okay.
So if you see, my custom exception is getting handled, but the message is not getting printed because the throwable class was having something in a more detailed way to get my detailed message. And if you want to have that kind of way, like you don't want to depend on your parent classes and you want to have your own logic, in that case, you can print that message directly. You can return that message. Right now, we are just assigning it and we are not returning it anyway. So what I can do is I can say get generate getters and setters for my message, save, And here, throw new login, right? I'll just pass it dot get error message. So now let's have a try block here. And you know, you're going to give a login validation exception. Now if I execute it, your message has been handled without throwing you any exception. So whenever you wanted to throw, you can still throw that message so that in your logs or in your console, you'll be able to see that error. And if you don't want to see that error and if you want to suppress that, you can still have a cache block where you're actually printing that message. And in that case, what happens in your logs, this particular message will get printed every time. And you will not be worried about, because it's a normal business handling exception. So we don't need to worry about it. Unless you get any kind of exceptions here. Unless you get some kind of messages from here, you need to handle them if it's more of a technical aspect. Otherwise, you don't need to do it. Any questions here? Or you want to try something different? Give me a moment. I can show you how exactly in the real time we'll be handling the business exceptions. So we need to understand it throws and throw keyword. I'll tell that about now. And then I'll show you a few samples of your custom exceptions and how we're handling in the real time. Okay. So what is the word? What is the meaning you understand from the word throws?
General meaning?
Yeah, general meaning.
Like calls an exception. Call.
No, generally throw. What does a throw means?
Giving someone, passing it to other.
Yeah. So there are two meanings, right? So there is a throw keyword and throws keyword. So what is the difference between these two? First one, the throw, this is actually tells us explicitly that you're going to give some kind of error to someone. Okay. And you're going to give explicitly, not implicitly. So for that purpose, we use this keyword either in your method or within any static block or within any instance block. We can actually use this throw keyword. What is this throws does? It is basically wherever you have this method, we are telling them that this particular method can come up with this kind of exceptions. So since this is not handled in your cache block, right? Right now I have my try and cache. If suppose I'm not having my try and cache block, but you are still able to expect this kind of exceptions on your execution, then you're just making sure that this might be thrown or may not be thrown, and just giving you an indication that there is an exception like this, which is happening within this piece of code. So whoever want to access this validated login data, so suppose if I'm having here, I can have my try cache block. So if you see earlier, I was getting this exception because this particular is not having any kind of block. Let me have some kind of thing. Even then, let's say in X. Okay. So though I have some piece of code within this try catch block, it was still throwing me this error because this particular is not, exception is not handled anywhere in this try piece of code. So unless you call this method, this got reverted because this particular method is having a possibility to return this exception, and I'm having a possibility to handle that exception. So whenever you're having methods created, common methods, wherever you want to reuse them again and again, like your if else check, or if you want to have a check like whether this particular login length is greater than or less than 8 for every time, for every user who logs in that case, wherever you're using this method, there you need to have your try catch block handled. But in the actual block, this particular piece of code, we don't require try catch block. We are making sure there is a chance for you to log in validate exception. If you want to suppress that, you can have that in your place where you're invoking it and not actually where they have created it. So that is the difference between the throw and throws. Throw is you're actually telling there is a code which I'm going to give you an error explicitly. But to that method, whoever want to consume it, I'm giving an awareness that this will end up with this kind of exceptions too if your data is not appropriate. In that case, I'll be handling them in the other piece of code where I'm invoking it. In that case, you have to go with throws keyword and not throw keyword. Any questions here? Okay. So now in this place, like let me have one more exception. What if my password is empty? Now let's give the password as empty, like null. Now let me run. What happened? We didn't handle this null pointer exception anywhere. So I was just handling only the length part. So now let me try to have here throw new null pointer exception. Data is empty. Okay. What is the error you're getting here? Delete unreachable statement. So in a single piece of code, you cannot handle multiple throws together. You can handle only one at a time. You cannot have multiple together. But if you're having in this particular throws, you can say like you can have multiple kind of exceptions, right? So let me say, I have one more block. Now I'm having one piece of code which is giving null pointer exception. Now I can give an awareness to them. There's a chance for you to null pointer exception too. Here I'm just giving an exception. Now let me run it. So what happened? I'm giving you an awareness that in this particular piece of code, you might get any these two exceptions together, but together you will not be throwing it. You have to throw it explicitly, separately, and not together. So that will give you a compile time error. So the throw keyword can be used only one at a time, whereas throws can have multiple exceptions together. So any questions here in this, the next approach which we tried now? And always your throw will be used within your block and not where you actually declare your block. Okay. Throws will be always used only where you declare it. Basically on your method signature alone, you'll have this throws and not near within your block. This is the other difference you'll have between throw and throws. The next one. Can we pass the throw without creating an object? Because every time I create throw, I'm having something called new keyword and followed by the respective class. Is it possible for me to throw this directly like this? Is it possible or not? No. Your throw keyword will expect an object to be passed, and you need to pass something from one person to other person, right? For that, you need to have your object handy, else you will not be able to throw it. But in case of throws, I don't want to create an object. I can just tell them what I'm actually passing. You can just tell me what is it. That's it. That should be fine for me. I don't need any objects to be passed. So this is one more difference between throws and throw. So till now, any confusions between throw and throws? You guys there?
Yes, Neha. No, no.
So no, any questions here till now?
No, so far good.
Okay. So as I said earlier, we were discussing about checked exception and unchecked exceptions. So what is compile time exceptions? What is runtime exceptions? How are we going to classify them? Right. So that is what the checked and unchecked exceptions come into picture. So let's say you have a file at one place. Okay. Let's say I have a file in my source package. Suppose if this file is not present, if my .java file is not present here, what will your system will return you? Like usually you're going to a file explorer and you're going to a document and you're trying to give a search. If you have something with your keyword, you found it, you will get the respective file name here. If you don't have the respective search here, so right now I'm just giving in this folder, hello, and I'm just giving enter. So what happening? I don't have any result set. So it's giving me no items match your search. What if I give something like and nothing, empty? So let me say, let me go to the documents again. Zoom. Okay, here. So I have something called zoomwork.tag. So now let me just search with tag. So if you see, I'm able to find a finding here. So these are something which can be checked by the user first case itself instead of handling it on runtime. So same way in your null pointer exception, right? You can actually guess it whether the data is null or it is empty, or is it having a value which you wanted, or is it empty, or is it empty object, or if your array index you're trying to pass more than that. So something which can be checked by you before executing your program or falls into a checked exceptions, which can be checked and which can help us to control those kind of exceptions, right? So that can fall into your checked exceptions. So how are we going to check it? We are going to check it at compile time. So checked exceptions are checked at your compile time. So which can fall into your file not found exception, null pointer exception, array index out of bound exception. Okay. So these are some things which can be checked initially and we can handle them. And though we are not in control, then they can go into the runtime exceptions. So that is what your checked exceptions come into picture. What are unchecked exceptions? So when we tried here an arithmetic exception, right? This one, this is not an unchecked, this is into unchecked exception because right now you have a hard-coded data and you're able to guess it. It's going to give you an exception. But this is something happening on your runtime, right? You can't, though you control this value, you'll not be able to control your arithmetic exception on runtime too, right? Which is not in our control. So those kind of exceptions fall into unchecked exceptions. Okay. So is it a way for us to control them or not? So checked exceptions can be controlled. Unchecked exceptions cannot be controlled. Such exceptions only can be suppressed so that we can continue with our flow. Having some kind of defaulting, or you want to break that sequence, or you want to continue though you have error. So all the keywords which you have learned, break, continue, everything can be used in that to suppress your exception and just go with the execution of the other pieces of code. So such kind of things comes into your unchecked exceptions. Okay. So so far the keywords whichever you learned, try, catch, finally, throw, throws, and how you can create your custom exceptions. And all these things, are you clear?
Sneha, but you told this null pointer, array index and all runtime exception, right? So that will come under unchecked or checked actually.
Those are runtime exceptions, but you can still actually handle it, right? Like what we did here. Like here we try to give a condition, like if it is not equal to null, you can actually go ahead. So basically you can check the data in before, right? Though it's a runtime exception, you can still check it at compile time and you can handle them, right?
Okay. So these all checked, like we could able to check on prior, like before our execution itself. So those will come under check. And unchecked only you told like we cannot check that and
If
we
you
cannot
see,
handle that.
null pointer exception also falls into your runtime exception only. But there is a chance for you to handle it by checking it, right? In your compile time, before compiling itself, you can actually go ahead and you can say like, okay, this is my so in this place, I can check on initial execution level itself, whether my data is null or not in prior execution and the compile level. In the stage of compiling itself, I can do this check and I can control it, right? I don't want this to happen on runtime when a user gives some no data and I'm checking it, right? So I can control them. So something which can be controlled in your compilation, any kind of runtime exceptions, that comes again into a checked exception.
Okay. So we cannot handle the unchecked conditions, unchecked exceptions, right?
Yeah, something you cannot control will fall into arithmetic exception. Like those kinds will come into unchecked exception.
Unchecked. Okay.
Okay. So right now, you might not have experienced all the exceptions so far, but I want you guys to give a try on a number format exception. Okay. Number format exception, which you can try it using your wrapper classes. Okay. And the other one is your array index out of bound, right? So you can experience these two exceptions right now. The other file, everything, we haven't come into the usage of the streams, your file accessing path, that we haven't addressed yet. So I don't want to go into that right now, but you can try these two exceptions. You can try to create it. So you can just, like similar to your null pointer exception, you can go to your number format exception and see when this particular exception happens and try to create it and try to handle it. Are you able to handle this number format exception? Does it going into checked or unchecked? So try a scenario in this for number format, and the same way try a scenario for your array index out of bound. Okay. So try to do these two things. So try to replicate these two exceptions in your piece of code and let me know whether you're able to check them. Like they are falling into checked exceptions or unchecked exceptions. Give a try on that. And let me know it on Monday. And the other concept which we are yet to look into is your abstract class and interface together and along with your exceptions. So that can be covered by Monday. And post that, you will be given with few assignments. And you need to complete like 5 to 10 programs in your hackathon. And you will have an assessment on Jan 7th. With all the concepts till now from scratch to here. You'll have a mini assessment falling into here. So try to practice everything and you'll be given with few assignments on object oriented as well as on the structural, like basically on logical programming too. So if you have any questions, try to point them out and we can discuss it on Monday. So Monday we'll be wrapping up the basic OOPS concepts and the basic exception handling, and we'll see few snippets on Monday, like what happens if we give this kind of scenarios, like basically try, catch, throws, all with these keywords. We'll see few snippets, and we'll also see how the inheritance will affect us in a cache block. That we'll see on Monday. So your
Neha, can we have one session as a recap session, all the topics which we have covered so far?
Sure, we can have it on Tuesday if you guys are okay.
Yeah.
A recap session would be good.
What?
Recap session would be good, covering all the topics.
Yeah, sure. So this would be your first part in your Java. Once we are good with this, we'll be progressing on collections and file handling. and thread concept, which will be a second part. There you'll be dealing more on your data structures and algorithms and the implementations. So this would be a basic understanding and OOPS concepts. So whatever questions you have, you can come up with it and we can discuss on the initial classes, like once we start from Jan 3rd, and we'll have a final mini assessment on Jan 7th, which would be an 1 hour assessment. So this time we'll not be having on quiz, you'll be having on your GitHub. So everyone has to push their changes through GitHub. I'll be teaching how to use the GitHub on the Jan 3rd class. It's a very minor learning. So you can practice it from the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and you can push your changes on 7th to your GitHub repositories. So this time it will be more programmatic than quizzes. So just get ready, and it will be more descriptive as well. So get it ready for it. And yeah, we can have a recap session on Tuesday once we complete the other few concepts on interface and abstract classes, along with exception handling on Monday. So whatever questions you have, please come up with it and try to create few exceptions using number format and these things. Try different possibilities, and if you have any questions, I'm welcoming for that, so we can solve together that. So if you have no questions, we can wrap up for the day.
Okay.
Okay. Have a good day. Happy weekend, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sneha.